Okay, so I've been saying I was going to do this video for a long time now, and I keep putting it off because I know it's going to be a hard one to do, but I feel like I owe it to myself, and I've had a lot of people question me, and I'm just going to make a video about it, and hopefully you guys will appreciate my vulnerability, and I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about me and my backstory and what I have been through in my life, and hopefully some of you guys can relate and maybe empathize. And I'm not making this video looking for advice or looking for pity or any of that stuff. I really just want to create more transparency in this world, and I think that a lot of us have been through really hard times in our life, and it's unfortunate that we feel pressure to live up to an expectation that really is what's the word I'm looking for? It's an unrealistic standard, and given the amount of trauma that so many people have been through, it's very difficult for people like us to walk around on an average everyday basis with a positive attitude and a smile on our face. So I just wanted to maybe tell my story, and hopefully you guys can appreciate me opening up. And yeah, so I had originally made a video with my hair and my makeup done, and I was in a fairly positive mood when I made it, but it didn't feel raw, it didn't feel genuine. So I'm here now, pimples and frizzy hair and all. Yeah, so yeah, so I was raised, I'm just gonna jump right into it. I was raised, I got cat hair in my mouth. I was raised by a single mother. God bless my mom's soul. That poor woman has been through so much because of me. But yeah, I was raised with a single mother. It was just her and I. My biological father wasn't in the picture. He had an affair on my mom when she was pregnant, and she decided that she didn't want him in her life anymore, so she went through with the pregnancy without him. I was brought up in my grandparents' house. I'm still to this day extremely close to my grandparents. They're very Italian. They don't speak very much English, and the English they do speak is kind of broken and very thick accented, but I love them with all of my heart, and I see them on a regular basis. I actually got, I know it's kind of hard to read, but it says Bella Mia, which means beautiful girl of mine, in Italian, and I got it tattooed across my stomach because every single time I call them or I visit them, they greet me with Bella Mia, and yeah, so I love them very much. I was raised in their house. From there, should I start with school? I mean, my mom ended up meeting a fellow who is now my stepfather, and when I was very young, we got along. Went to school, went to elementary school, and sorry, I've got cat hair all over me. Yeah, so I went to school. Elementary school was really hard for me. I remember my mom dropping me off, and I was so attached to her because she was the only person that, I mean, it was always her and me and her always till the end, you know? And so she dropped me off at school, and I would cry a lot because I had attachment issues of being with her, and that led me to being bullied a lot. So yeah, from the time that I can remember up until about grade 8, so all throughout elementary school, my own friends used to be really cruel to me. I felt like I was always the outcast. I was always being made fun of. My best friends would actually like purposely teach me how to do things wrong and then laugh at me when I did it wrong. So my very first memory of elementary school is my homeroom teacher. He asked me to stay after class and he asked my mom to join us. And I remember my teacher telling my mom that he heard me saying, "I wish I was never born." So from the age of, I was probably only about maybe 10 years old, 8, 9, 10, 11 at the most. It's kind of hard to remember exactly, but it was like anywhere between grade 1 or 3. I was already having thoughts about not existing and not being alive. So I've struggled with suicidal thinking my whole life, pretty much. I mean, that's a pretty young age to be having those sorts of thoughts and ideas. It's my first memory. And then as I grew up, I remember hitting grade 6, and we were the oldest in the school, and it was this big deal that we were going to be changing schools, and I got all excited because I thought I could reinvent myself, and I was telling my friends how I wanted to go to grade 7 and be part of the popular girl group, and how badly I wanted to just change my life and mean something, have a significant role for once. So grade 7 comes, and I enlist in River Heights School, and I was still picked on a lot. I think that I wanted more than anything to just fit in and get along with people. And at this point, my stepfather had started being really strict on me. He was raised in a Christian home, and he has 6 brothers. So 6 young boys being raised in a Christian home. His experience with raising a family is definitely a lot different than how you would raise a only child who's a female that was raised with a single mother. And I don't think he fully understood that, so I don't blame him for it, but it definitely made things very difficult for me. I wasn't allowed to have certain toys or play certain games because I was a girl. And they were very hard on me. So grade 7 came, and between being bullied and having a rough home life because I wanted to rebel at that typical teenage age, I started to cut myself, and my school found out about it. My counselor took me in and talked to me about it, and my parents thought that the reason I was cutting myself was because someone else in the school was cutting themselves. So if they took me away from the bullies and they took me away from the other kids that were cutting themselves, then I'd be better. So about halfway through the school year for grade 7, they switched me over to Linden Meadows School. And I went there, and all the kids there had basically been there since grade 1 or kindergarten, and they had all been born and raised in Lindenwoods. So they were all very well-behaved, I guess you could say, kind of like goody-good Lindenwoods children. And I was this new girl with my neon blue eyeliner and my River Heights girl attitude with my cut-up wrists and my wristbands. You know those like jelly bracelets that they used to have? Those like jelly bracelets and Avril Lavigne t-shirt. Like, yeah, that was me. So I come to this school, and I'm wearing my baby fat, my Rocawear, and my Avril Lavigne stuff. I don't know how that works. I just really wanted to fit in, and I was like, oh, all the cool kids are doing these things, so I'm gonna do these things too. And I mean, it worked. I was like the pretty new girl, and for the first time in my life, I had a taste of that life that I had always wanted, of being like part of the popular girls group. And it was really a lot of fun for a while, but I got caught up in it, and I started to drink. And I started influencing my friends to steal alcohol from their parents, and I started stealing a lot of alcohol from my parents. They actually ended up having to lock up the liquor cabinet, and it still has a lock on it because I took that much alcohol from them. Started to skip class and go drinking. So that happened throughout Linden Meadows days. The bullying wasn't as bad. I mean, you had your typical drama, but it wasn't directed just towards me, which was nice, so that was a change. And then came high school. So I go into high school and I've got all these like pretty girls that are my friend, and I'm doing well, you know, like, yeah, I'm drinking sometimes, but we're having fun, it's fine. I joined the cheerleading squad, I joined student council, I was in soccer, I was in volleyball, I was in cheerleading, I was in swimming lessons, I was in lifeguarding training. What else did I do? I think I did rugby for a little while. I did water polo. Like, I was an extremely active child, or teenager rather, for grade 9, beginning of grade 9. I was doing really well in my classes. I was very smart. I was very, everything was going well for me. And I thought, finally, like, this is my break. This is my time to succeed in life. And yeah, so I started dating this guy. He was captain of the hockey team because we didn't have a football team. And I was captain of the cheer squad. And he smoked weed. He sold weed. So naturally, I started smoking weed and selling weed for him. He was extremely abusive. Not in a sense that he was beating me, but emotionally and mentally, he really did drag me down. I turned bulimic, and I told him about it, and he encouraged it. He'd ask me what I ate that day and if I had vomited yet. He cheated on me with a girl who was anorexic because he knew that I wanted to look like her. And it was a really messy situation. I was buying a lot of stuff for him. I was working at Tim Hortons at the time, and I had a pretty decent income for a 15-year-old child, so I was buying him presents all the time. And so summertime came, and I started drinking and partying a lot, and he was out at his cabin. I ended up cheating on him. I felt so terribly about it that I gave him a phone call, and I told him, hey, look, I fucked up, I made a mistake, and this is what happened. And he goes, oh, thank God, you cheated? I've been cheating this whole time. It's all good. And I was like, oh shit, there's some instant fucking karma. So my heart sank, and I was like, okay, I get it, I understand, that's my lesson. Do not cheat because you don't want to make someone feel like this. So I ended up breaking up eventually, and go back to school after the summer break. Kept drinking, kept smoking weed, started getting into prescription drugs. I was doing Ritalin, Concerta, Adderall, pretty much anything that I could get my hands on, honestly. And I didn't realize that I had a problem. I honestly thought I was only doing it every once in a while until I tried to stop. And I ended up on my bedroom floor having cold sweats and shakes. Literally curled on a ball, vibrating, and freezing cold. So at the time I didn't realize that that was drug withdrawal, but after I grew up and I started doing more research on what I had been doing and what I had been taking, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was taking. I don't know. I was so mentally depressed that I started taking everything. There was a situation where I did some drugs, and I was at my best friend's place. He lived right down the street from me, and it was about 4 a.m, and I was really high and I was freaking out. So I called my ex-boyfriend, the guy that I had been dating in high school, the hockey guy, and I was like, you need to come get me, I'm freaking out. And he's like, okay, I'll be right there. So he drives his car over, completely hammered. I get in the car, and I'm gonna warn you guys, this gets a little bit graphic, so if you want to maybe skip ahead, I'll I don't know, like, do something and you'll know that I'm done telling the story. But this is where everything just kind of went wrong. So this guy had such a fucking impact on my life. Things were going really, really well until I started, you know, hanging out with guys that just influenced me in such a terrible way. So he picked me up drunk and drove me to a parking lot, and I got into the back seat because I I just wanted to be held. I wanted to cuddle. I wanted to feel safe and protected, as most women do. And he ended up taking off my clothes. And at first I was like, this is normal. He does this all the time. He very frequently used to kind of persuade me or convince me to do sexual favors for him that I very obviously wasn't interested in doing. So he very severely sexually assaulted me. I remember looking up at one point while it was happening, and I was crying, and I saw someone in a window, and I remember just looking at this person in the window and begging, please send help, please send help, please send help. Not out loud, but mentally, because I knew that they couldn't read my lips. It was too far away. It was nighttime. So I made sure that this person saw me. And a couple hours later, the police showed up, and I had fallen asleep. I had passed out after the assault was done. Police showed up, and my eyes were still closed, and I remember hearing, before I saw that it was the police, and there was a man outside of the car window, and he goes, "Oh man, you're not gonna believe this. You gotta come see this. You gotta come see this. You're not gonna believe it." Almost in like an enthusiastic manner. And I opened my eyes because I didn't know who it was. And I saw that it was the police. And at first I was thankful because I thought they were gonna help, until I realized that they were quite literally just gawking at my underaged, naked, freshly raped body. Sorry. Man, the story never gets easier to tell. You think with time, I usually, I can tell the story, I just don't usually go into detail about it because it is really hard for me to talk about still, and I think it will be for the rest of my life. It's a very hard one to, it's a hard pill to swallow. But yeah, that happened. And we got out of the car, and the police didn't do their report as they should be. When there's any foul play in question between a couple, you're supposed to separate them and talk to them both separately, because it is a very well-known fact that whoever is being abused will not admit that they are being abused in front of their abuser. But they didn't practice proper protocol, so they just asked if I was okay, and my ex-boyfriend at the time said, yes, she's okay, yes, she consented, yes, everything's fine, ha ha ha, we just pulled over because I was drinking and driving and I didn't want to drive, so I wanted to be smart and safe. That was his excuse, and I just stood there silently. I didn't even say anything, and they're like, okay, you're good to go. So I remember him dropping me off at home, and I remember crawling in bed, and I feel like I was in that fucking bed for so long. I feel like once he dropped me off at home, I crawled into that bed and I didn't want to go anywhere anymore. I remember either being in the bed or being in a boiling hot shower and scrubbing myself. So at that point, my mental health got really bad. It took me almost a year before I admitted to myself what had happened. I thought I knew what happened, but actually accepting it was another thing. I was 15 years old when this happened, and shit hit the fan. I completely lost my will to live, and I wouldn't leave bed unless I mean, my mom tried to force me to go to school, but every time she drove me to school, I would go and I would just drink or do drugs all day long. And sometimes I wouldn't come home. I would just go on benders, or I'd come home and I would just lay in bed. The only way I would eat is if I got ridiculously stoned, otherwise I had no appetite. And my grades slipped. I started doing very poorly in school. I dropped out of all of my sports classes and sports teams. And yeah, my parents and I would fight a lot. I would just tell them, you don't understand, I don't want to talk about it, because I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to admit what had happened, because I couldn't even admit it to myself, so I didn't want to say it out loud. So they didn't know what was going on. They just thought that I was being a rebellious teenager. Meanwhile, I was trying to numb the pain because of what I had been through. So yeah, that led me down a really bad road. My stepdad ended up kicking me out of the house. And there were numerous occasions where he would say, get out of my house, get out of my house, get out of my house, every time we would fight. And I would leave, and I'd be gone for a couple days, and I'd live out of a backpack, and I'd be couch surfing. Most of the times while I'd be couch surfing, I'd be drinking or doing drugs, because the only couches that would let me sleep on them were usually random fucking guys that wanted to get me fucked up because they were hoping that they would get something out of it from me. So, after enough times of them telling me to get the fuck out of the house and me leaving and coming back, eventually I stayed out. Because I knew if I went home, it was just a matter of time. I would go home and we would yell and we'd yell and we'd yell and we'd get into fights, and they would say mean things to me, and I would get so frustrated that they were saying mean things to me that I would have no choice but to leave the situation. I was slicing my body apart every time I was at home. My thighs are still covered in cuts. My arms are still covered in fucking scars. Yeah, it was really bad. So I had nowhere to go. I ended up going with one of my friends to my first rave, and was introduced to this guy, and he asked me out and asked me out and asked me out and asked me out, and eventually I was like, you know what, you have an apartment, you have a job, I'm homeless, sure, yeah, I'll move in. And at this point, it wasn't even me really liking the guy, I was just trying to survive. I mean, I thought he was cute, but I mean, I was in so much pain that, like, I really shouldn't have jumped into that situation, but I was desperate. So I moved in with him, and we were drinking all the time and doing drugs all the time, and we would just get really fucked up and get into fights. And there were a couple times I hit him, and I'm not fucking proud of it. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, I'm super not fucking proud of it. But I was so fucked up, and he was fucked up, and things were said, and fights were had. Things got really fucking bad. There was a point where it was me, him, and 4 other guys. So there was 6 of us living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And 6. There were 6 of us living in a 2-bedroom apartment, actually right across the street from where I am right now, which is really weird. And our roommate was paying us in drugs. So I was doing copious amounts of drugs, like more than I shouldn't have survived. I was hospitalized. I was first hospitalized for a suicide attempt. In high school, the very, very few times that I was there, there ended up being a girl getting a hold of a topless photo of me and sending it out to like 3 schools worth of people. So my boobs were literally like passed around between everyone, and between being kicked out of the house and homeless, freshly sexually abused severely, and now on drugs, and the whole school has seen this photo of me that wasn't supposed to be seen. Everyone started making fun of me for it. At that point, I attempted suicide, and my school counselor found out and forced me to go to HSC's mental health clinic. I was there for 10 days before they let me go, and yeah, they let me go, and I went back, started doing drugs again, ended up in the hospital again. This time my kidneys failed. I had very severe kidney damage, irreversible. Still do. I've got a bladder disease now, which I personally think is linked to that situation, but I don't really know. Yeah, I was really sick. I was very sick. From there, me and that boyfriend ended up breaking up because I caught him cheating. His excuse was, "You're so out of my league because you're so beautiful that I assumed you were gonna cheat on me, so I cheated on you." Fucking bullshit. So we broke up, and still tried to live together. That was a bad idea. Eventually I moved back in with my parents for a very short period of time. Tried to make that work. Wasn't in the house very often because we still weren't getting along, but I didn't have anywhere to go, so I tried. Then I started dating this guy who was actually one of the 5 roommates that we lived with in the apartment. So, I mean, that was a bad idea. He was, I think he was like 26, 27, 28, and I just turned 18, and he was a bar DJ. So I ended up dating him, and because he was DJing at all these nightclubs, I would go with him, and because I was there all the time, I ended up getting a job at the nightclub, and I would just drink every night because I'd get free bar tabs for working there, and I turned into a bit of an alcoholic. I wouldn't be able to go out to these events without drinking because I'm not really the type of person that thrives in a nightclub or bar industry. I'm very reserved, I'm very shy, I'm very closed off. I'm very introverted, believe it or not. I know it doesn't seem that way on camera sometimes, but if you actually see me out in public, I'm usually either dancing by myself, and if people try to dance with me, I get really awkward about it and kind of just shuffle away, or I'm like in the corner sitting on a bench by myself, or I'm interacting in a conversation, and it's really hard for me because I just get really shy and nervous, and yeah, but anyways, so yeah, that situation ended up being really shitty because he was cheating on me with numerous girls the entire relationship, and he didn't really have a job outside of DJing, so I ended up getting a job at Shark Club that I fucking hated. I couldn't live up to that very bubbly, flirtatious restaurant waitress kind of atmosphere personality that they have going on there. So yeah, that was an awkward one. Wasn't a fan of that job, but I was paying for rent, I was buying him brand name clothes all the time, I was buying us food, and he's fucking cheating on me. But we ended up going to the Caribbean for 4 months because that's where he was born, and he left before I did. He was supposed to find some under the table work there for us while he was there. Didn't. I ended up going. I ended up having to figure out how to pay for our rent, our food, and everything that we needed while we were out there. So I was funding the whole thing. Still cheating on me. And fuck, that was so fucking terrible. We come back to Winnipeg eventually, and guy ends up going completely fucking psycho and pulls a knife on me. So I call the cops. Actually, roll back. We move back to Winnipeg and we get an apartment together. And it's very overpriced. It's in the Exchange District. It's very small and it's very expensive and we're paying for it anyways. We got into fights every single fucking weekend to the point of the cops being there. The cops would show up on the weekend. He actually called the cops one night on himself and told them that he is about to murder me. And they didn't show up for 4 hours. So now between the cops showing up and gawking at my naked, underage, freshly abused body, sexually abused body, and now them not showing up for 4 hours after they get a phone call saying that my boyfriend's about to murder me and he's got a knife out, like, why do you think I have a problem with authority? Just saying. Everyone who's ever supposed to be there for me, my fucking biological father, my stepfather, fucking cops, my own school, like everyone that I was supposed to be able to turn to be there for me wasn't. So I had to fend for myself. This whole fucking time I was fending for myself. And now, fast forward to today, I have a really hard time actually depending on people. I feel like I can't count on anyone, and I feel like when I do turn to people and ask them to be there for me, I'm a burden, and it's fucking bad. I've had to depend on myself for so fucking long, and I know that I have friends that are there for me, that pull through whenever they can, but I still have a really hard time asking, and usually once it gets to the point of me asking, it's really bad, like about to kill myself bad. So, yeah, so that relationship ended with him pulling a knife on me, and it was actually a really funny story. I went to go visit him at work one day, and I met one of his friends, and his friend kept joking, being like, I'm gonna fuck your girlfriend, and I'm like, excuse me, no you're not. And yeah, so his friend calls me one day, and he goes, what are you doing tonight? And I was like, oh, I don't know yet, why? He's like, well, me, you, and your boyfriend are gonna go hang out. I was like, okay. He's like, get ready. I'm like, okay, cool. So I get ready, and I get a call from his friend, and he's like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey, come outside. So come outside, and there's a fucking limo. And I'm like, what the hell? I get in the limo, and my boyfriend's not there. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, shh, hold on, I'm on a phone call. I'm like, okay, so this is my boyfriend's friend. He's on the phone. He's got it on speaker, and my boyfriend answers, and he goes, shut up, like, just don't say anything. And boyfriend's friend goes, hey, what are you doing tonight? My boyfriend goes, oh, I'm just at work right now. I don't really have plans for later. Why? And he's like, well, we're gonna go see some strippers, and then I've got some hoes that want to come back to my place. You down? And my boyfriend goes, oh, hell yeah, I'm down. Like, let me just figure things out, and yeah, I'll be down. I'm like, okay, cool. Or he's like, okay, cool. Hangs up the phone, looks at me. He goes, call your boyfriend. Ask him where he's gonna be tonight. I'm like, okay. So I text my boyfriend, call my boyfriend. I'm like, hey, what are you doing tonight? He's like, oh, I just gotta go to work, and I might just, hang out here. And yeah, so I hang up the phone with him, and his friend goes, your boyfriend's a piece of shit, always has been, now you have proof. I'm here with you in a limo, you deserve way better, let me take you out. So I went out with him. He treated me like a fucking princess. I had never been treated so amazingly in my entire life. And this guy genuinely liked me, and I was so fucking broken inside that I didn't know how to react to it. I thought he was just trying to use me. I thought he was trying to manipulate me. I was scared. I didn't know what to do, so I pushed him away. And to this day, I regret doing that, because he really was an awesome person. And we're still friends to this day, but he's in a happy relationship. And I'm just trying to figure my shit out. But yeah, so that led to me having my boyfriend at the time find out that I'm now dating his friend, and he freaked the fuck out and pulled a knife on me. And when I called the cops, he turned the knife on himself. So when the fire truck and the paramedics showed up before the police did, they took him to the mental health hospital and left me there, and then they dropped him off a couple hours later, and I was still in the house. What the fuck? That was a shitty situation. From then, I started dating this new guy, and we had been friends for a long time. Loved him very, very much. He was extremely insecure and had very big trust issues. He didn't like me wearing certain things out of the house. He was very controlling, very angry. He'd punch holes in walls all the time. And it's really sad for me to say that because he was punching holes in the wall and because he wanted me to cover up, that was the best guy that I had been with, other than this like boyfriend friend of mine that I like temporarily saw that treated me like a princess for a short period of time. This next boyfriend that I had, like, he really did actually care for me. He wasn't in any way, shape, or form healthy, but I did feel loved for the first time, and I felt protected, and that was really nice. We ended up breaking up just because I was into BDSM and he wasn't, and that made things messy, so we split. And then after that, dated this really gorgeous guy, long head of dreads, very beautiful, very charming. It turns out he was a fucking piece of shit asshole, total sociopath. I fell for him really quickly because he was super charming, and he literally convinced me that he was an entire persona that he is not. And after a while of dating him, he started to make me feel guilty for having depression. He told me that my depression was weighing down on him and that he couldn't be around someone that was depressed. And keep in mind, I full disclosure, before me and him started dating each other, I told him day one, hey, I struggle with depression and anxiety. Are you okay with this? He said, yeah, no problem. I've dealt with it before. I like you. I love you. I want to be with you. It's okay. I'll help you through it. And then once we started dating, it was another thing. Caught him lying, caught him cheating. He would frequently ditch me, just fucking bail on me. I would go and get ready to go out and he'd be like, hey, see ya, and just fucking peace out. He'd make fun of my artwork. He convinced me to quit my job and then told all of his friends that he didn't want to date me because I didn't have a job, yet he was the reason why I quit my fucking job. So, yeah, I caught him cheating too, and then we broke up because I caught him cheating and he didn't want to admit it. So, ooh. And from there, another relationship. See the pattern here? I went from abusive relationship to abusive relationship because when you are that broken as a woman, the second a man pops into your life and promises to treat you right, you can't take care of yourself. So you tend to fall back on whoever's willing to give you love, attention, and affection. You latch onto that and you don't think before you do it. I was young. I was in a lot of pain. I had been through a lot at this point, and all I wanted more than anything was to be loved and cared for. And so I started dating another guy right away, and he seemed really sweet, and he really did have his best intentions in mind, but he struggled with a drug addiction. And when we started to date, I made him promise it's either me or the drugs. I'm not dating somebody who's doing drugs. I'm getting clean. I'm not doing drugs anymore. I quit. I'm taking care of myself. I'm trying to make better choices. And he goes, I love you so much. I'll quit. I promise I won't do it again. So, long story short, after about a year of constant paranoia and accusations and just bullshit from him, I caught him lying to me so many fucking times, and I put up with it because he wasn't cheating and he wasn't beating me, and it was always, well, at least he's not doing blank. At least he's not doing blank. And just because he wasn't the worst of the worst didn't mean that what he was doing was acceptable. But that was the mindset that I was in. So, caught him with drugs, broke up with him. I tried to help him through rehab. I tried to help him through recovery, but he just wasn't in a position to be able to help himself. And that really broke my heart because at the end of the day, we did love each other very much. And I do still care about him very much, but I'm at a point in my life now, this is 2 years after me and him had broken up. It's been 2 years since then, and I still wish the best for him, but I need to be putting my own priorities first. After that relationship ended, I really just felt like I had been backhanded by life. I took a step back from everything and I just realized I can't keep doing this pattern. I'm continuously putting myself in positions that are harmful and dangerous for me, and I have gone through countless abusive situations, and at that moment I decided to make a drastic change. So I started monitoring every single person that was in my life, everything that I consumed, from what I watched on TV to what I read in books, to who I interacted with in person, to what I did for work, what I put in my body, what I thought about on a regular basis. Started going to therapy, started eating healthy, started taking vitamins, started, really taking care of myself. And I'm here 2 years later, and I still haven't been in a serious relationship since. I've casually, lightly dated, but I think that I still have a lot of very deep-seated trust issues. And at first I thought that I'd be able to solve them, but I don't think I'm going to be able to solve them alone. I think that I'm going to have to find a partner who is very understanding of the fact that I've been through a lot, and that they're going to need to reassure me and take my hand and realize that if I am asking questions or if I seem like I'm accusing them, it's not an attack on their own personal integrity. It's me just trying to protect myself. And it sucks that I have to explain that to people, and it sucks that some men aren't willing to, work with me on that. They think it's just too much work and they'd rather just go be with a woman that doesn't have as much baggage as me, and I fully understand that. However, I can't explain to you guys how deeply I love when I love somebody. It often scares guys away, and I think that I do it because I want nothing more from life than to have a person that I can actually legitimately count on, that I can have that partner. Sorry, I'm like all flustered. I just want to have a partnership with somebody that I can call my best friend and have them be there for me no matter what, and help me through the hard times and celebrate the good times with me. And I love very intensely, and in the past that's gotten me in trouble, so I try my best now to make sure who I'm giving that love to is deserving of it. And I'm still learning how to do that. I've been meeting new people, and not every single person that I meet is worth it, but sometimes I meet someone and I'm like, oh my god, he's the one. And I start giving and giving and giving, and then they're like, what the fuck, like, I don't even know this girl's middle name. So yeah, that's kind of a fucked up little quality about myself, but I don't know, we'll see. I really need to work on being more comfortable with being alone. I mean, I've been alone for 2 years for the majority, other than the casual light dating. So I understand what it means to sleep in your bed alone and cook for yourself. And, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment by myself, and I'm self-employed, so I work alone every day. I'm alone a lot, and I have been alone a lot. It's led me to a ton of self-reflection, and I overthink like a motherfucker, but it also allows me to be more self-aware, and it allows me to come to numerous different conclusions. So I have so many different outlooks all on the same topic. I'm not so set in this one box. I don't have a very strong belief system. I feel like not very many things can be proven, and a lot of people's personal opinions are based off their own perspective, and because of that, I don't have a very strong grasp on anything. I do have very strong morals. I know right from wrong. I'm a very good person. I have a good heart, and although I've been through a lot my whole life and I'm not 100% innocent, I have, hurt people along my path, but at the end of the day, I've always ran from a place of a good heart, and I know that I have a very good soul, and I don't feel guilty for what I've done, because I really haven't done anything to feel bad. I just need to stop taking things out on myself. I think that my brain has felt so programmed by these outside sources constantly feeding me negative info about who I am, who I should be, just a lot of judgment and a lot of poor treatment for very many years. And learning how to reprogram my brain after spending 8 to 10 years, 10 years, because it was 15 when my abuse happened and I'm 25 now. So it's been 10 years of, well, I guess 8 years of abuse, because now the past 2 years I've been really working on myself. So it's going to take time, and I know that, and I still have days where I'm not capable of being strong. I feel like the moment I finally dug out of my depression, I didn't realize anxiety was waiting for me. So that was definitely really frustrating, because I worked very hard on getting out of a pit of depression. I was bedridden. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't shower myself. It was really terrible. And when people say they've been through depression or they've had depression, being upset for a while because somebody died, like situational depression isn't the same as having a depression illness. So I worked very, very hard, and now I don't even think that I've gotten rid of the depression. I think that I just have high functioning depression. I think that I keep myself very busy, because as soon as I'm alone and I'm not distracted, I cry. I'm very upset. It's very difficult for me to fully accept my story. I missed a lot in between there. Me and my biological dad, we don't talk anymore. We got into a pretty big fight this last summer, and he had been in and out of my life my whole life, and I never really was able to take him as a serious father figure because of that. He kind of just popped in and popped out as he pleased, and no matter how many times I ran to him, he wasn't there for me. So there's a little bit of tidbit of information. So I don't know. I'm kind of now at a point where I'm just trying to get my shit together. I'm working very hard. I work almost every single day of my life. I visit my grandparents regularly. I see my mom, and we talk on a daily basis. The friends that I do have that I see regularly are very good people, and they do have my best intention in mind. I'm 25 days without any alcohol, so I quit drinking because I realized every time I drank, I got very suicidal, and I didn't want to be suicidal anymore. So even though on occasion I get really upset and I have suicidal thoughts, I'm not going to act on them. It's just the way that my brain has been patterned to unfortunately respond to negative situations and negative emotions, but I don't take that seriously anymore. I don't know what else to say. I feel like I should wrap this up with some positive message, but I'm dealing with a lot of medical problems now. I'm starting to wonder if my depression and anxiety is now linked to an autoimmune disease. I'm very sick on a regular basis. I'm in a lot of pain on a regular basis. I can't feel my legs right now. Today I fell over while I was at work. My legs just decided to not work, and I got dizzy, and my hands, they'll often kind of cramp like this and stay like that, and then I can't move them. So I don't know what's going on. I see a neurologist, I think next week. I'm really nervous about it. Had my bladder scoped. I have something called interstitial cystitis, and it essentially means that there's a layer missing inside of my bladder, and it's very painful. It causes inflammation and cramping on a regular basis, so it's hard to deal with. What else? I don't know. I think I've been sharing my story with you guys because I really do honestly, genuinely believe that I am getting better, I am healing. It's a lot of fucking work. It's constant thought monitoring. It's making sure that everything you put in your body is benefiting you in some way. And when I say that, I don't mean never eat a fucking Big Mac or never eat a piece of pizza or don't have some fucking hot wings or have a beer now and then. Like, you're allowed to indulge in shitty things for you. Just know that they're gonna have a shitty outcome. And every time I eat shitty food, I feel like shit afterwards. But I mean, it's just something that sometimes I'm willing to do. Yeah, I think I'm kind of just, I need to get healthy so that I can rediscover myself. It's very difficult to be happy and positive when you're constantly in pain. So I'm trying my best to figure out how to fix my body so that I can be more positive and I can get myself out of this negative mindset. But yeah, so there's a little bit about me and what I've been through. People like to see this beautiful model on Instagram, and they don't realize that I still have my own life and my own story, and I really have been through a lot. So when I post hashtags like PTSD or borderline personality disorder or trauma or abuse, I'm not just making these stories up. There was one other very severe sexual abuse situation that I was in not very many years ago, about a year and a half ago. I'm not ready to talk about it, but that really messed me up too. And at the end of the day, I put myself in that position, and I know I shouldn't be sitting here blaming myself for it. And because I am sitting here blaming myself for it, I know that I'm not ready to talk about it because it wasn't my fault, but. Yeah. So I'm finally at a point where I'm able to start making better choices, and I just hope that anybody else who might be out there struggling or have been through trauma or abuse of any sort, whether it's, a boyfriend that is so insecure that he starts mentally and emotionally abusing you, or punching holes in the wall, or pulling a knife on you, or pinning you down and hitting you, or sexually assaulting you, or financially taking advantage of you, whatever it might be, there is still hope. And as long as you know that you don't deserve what happened to you or what you're going through right now, and there are people out there that have your best interest in mind. There are good people. There are a lot of really shitty people, because what happens is people get put through trauma and abuse from other people, and then those hurt people, those victims, turn into the person that hurt them. And I am so blessed and so thankful that my heart is so pure that even after everything I've been through, I'm still here, and I'm still loving with all of my heart, and I am still grateful and thankful and giving, and I'm there for people when they need me to be there for them, and I'm trying my best to just put my best foot forward on a regular basis and be a good fucking human being. Because if I turn into a shitty person, then all the abuse I've been through, every single person that's hurt me, they win. And in a world that we have today, where majority of people are hurt people, hurting people, we need more good-hearted people. And it sucks that you have to seclude yourself, and it sucks that you have to be super fucking protective, and it sucks that sometimes you're a good person to somebody who doesn't fucking deserve a good person in their life. But I'm still gonna be a good person. I'm still gonna be giving with all of my fucking heart, because it's all that I have fucking left. And this is how I choose to fight that battle. This is how I choose to make my impact on the world. I want to see a happy world. I want to see a positive world. I want to see change happen. And the only way I can do that is by being a good, fucking, genuine, honest human being. So that's what I'm trying to fucking do. But in order to do that, I need to take care of myself. So, whoa! Oh, that was hard. That was almost an hour-long conversation that I just had at a camera, and I'm sure I'm missing a ton, but that's the gist of it. And I guess I kind of just wanted to open up so you guys understand. And I know that a lot of people probably won't watch this, and that's totally okay. I'm not really expecting you to. If you want to skim through it, if you if you have any questions for me, for like resources and stuff, I'll be completely honest with you. The mental health system in Winnipeg has yet to impress me. I do know a lot of people who have had success stories, so it's not that it's not helpful. I think that for me, I just wasn't ready to. I don't know. I'm doing what I can, trying different things. I'm working very hard at bettering myself and being healthy. So, yeah. I'm gonna end it at that. I hope you guys leave this feeling more connected to me. I feel like you, excuse me, I got the hiccups. I get the hiccups when I'm nervous. Yeah, now you know a little bit about my history and what I've been through, and hopefully you guys can feel more connected and understanding of me and everything that I've gone through, and why I am the person that I am. And if you have any advice, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below or send me a message, whichever. I try my best to get back to everything, but it is a lot of work, and I do need to be prioritizing my health, so I do apologize if I can't always reply, but I do try to. So thank you for the support, and yeah, I'm gonna keep updating you guys. My Instagram stories, I mean, it's the easiest and quickest, most efficient way for me to kind of pop on really quickly and just say, hey, this is how I'm doing today, this is what's going on, this is what I'm trying. And I know that it might seem to the outside viewer that I don't try things, but if you saw what I do on a fucking regular basis, oh man, you have no clue. I'm constantly putting effort into trying to get better. So I've got my neurologist appointment in a week, and I'm off of antibiotics, but I need to go back into the doctor and get all of my blood work and pee in a cup again to see what's going on. So more tests and more scans. Hopefully I'm okay. Yeah, I appreciate you, and thank you for watching. Please be good, do good things, be genuine, be kind, be gentle. It's a fucking hard world out there, you guys, and we all deserve to be happy and healthy, so just take care of yourself and take care of the ones that you love. Thank you so much.